Hi everyone and welcome to the stream. I'm Jo.
And I'm Jordan. And we are live on YouTube, Warden Radio, D-Live, Odyssey, and many other unimportant social media platforms.
I'm so sorry about that intro. I just realised I hadn't updated the title after all that.
All that fandango going around and you hadn't even updated the title. Jesus Christ, somebody get me a new apprentice, please.
I know. Well, I updated everything else, which I have to do all by myself because I do all of them, Jordan.
Yeah, it's about bloody time you do something.
Wow.
Exactly.
So
Suck on those lemons.
So this will be our last show together. I'm outraged and offended.
I actually preferred that intro because for once I was able to hear you say, "Hello everyone, I'm Jo." Normally all I hear is, "Oh." So thank you. Well done for pausing.
Well, it's not so basically the audience have to listen to dead air for 5 seconds so your hamster internet can catch up.
To be completely honest with you, I think the audience only hears "oh" as well. So,
well, let's ask them.
Don't go complaining.
Let's ask them. Audience, are you hearing the entire intro or is it being cut off? Because if it is being cut off, then obviously I'll delay the intro.
Delay.
Let me know in the comments. Oh, Fearless Bear's just laughing at us.
I don't blame him. I would as well, honestly. That either laugh or cry, I'm not sure which. Good evening, Tash and Andrew over on Odyssey. For some reason, I was about to say D-Live, and then I had to think through for about 2 seconds.
Wow, this show's going to go really, really well this evening. No delays, says Fearless Bear.
Although we're going to have an update on why my brain is on a go slow, or another example of my brain being on a go slow tomorrow. So tune in for that, for the latest edition of Hamster Brain meets Hamster Internet.
Is that the name of the stream? Hamster Brain?
It may as well be. Because to be honest with you, upon reflection, I'm thinking, there's just about the stupidest mistake a person could make, so good job there.
Okay. Well, on that note, welcome to Hamster Radio, I guess. And thank you everyone who has joined us. Good evening to you all. This is obviously the community stream. We're going to talk about more community related topics today. For everyone who is a regular, you know exactly what tonight's stream is about. For anyone joining us for the first time, we focus on the things that benefit communities. And we focus on the things that might harm our community and we look for solutions to them. That's literally what we do. Enough people are talking about the problems. We need to find solutions to these problems. Otherwise, we're just parroting the same misery that everyone else is.
You could almost say we're adding fuel to the fire.
Ooh, I sense a segue coming on.
There's the seggiest of segues.
And Andrew, I kind of updated the title while the intro was running, so I probably have to go back and manually fix them all. But never mind. Hey ho. Carry on, Jordan.
As I said, I'll get a better apprentice for tomorrow. Drivers warn 1 million cars may so not work with new petrol. E10 petrol will become standard from September, but many cars and motorbikes can't use without issues. Now, for the Americans and Canadians, and I believe Australians and Kiwis, this is known as E90, not E10. I don't know why they're doing this in reverse. All I know is that at some stage through this article, or this segment, I'm going to call them E95 by mistake when I mean E5, so just bear with me.
I know why. Because most of the population of Britain can't count over 10 in English. Is that the answer?
Oh, maybe. It may well be. We may have a winner. As Bruce would say, didn't she do well?
Oh, you're so condescending this evening. I'm taking over this stream now. I'm in charge now. But on a serious note, for those of you who drive, this is actually serious. And this is an issue. and it's going to be problematic for many of us. For those of us without the ability or the opportunity to buy a brand new car, this is a problem. Anyway, carry on, Jordan. Why don't you explain to everyone why it's a problem and what that problem is?
Hashtag is one of them. He's like me. He's in trouble. My poor little 1998 Fiesta I have a feeling it's in trouble. I have a feeling my poor little 98 Fiesta doesn't like 95, let alone. Sorry, I've just bloody done it. But I have a feeling my poor little Fiesta doesn't like E5, let alone E10. It already doesn't have very much power. So if you take out some of the petrol, it's going to struggle even more.
Brilliant. DJ Mark. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, go on.
I thought you'd finished. DJ Mark was saying if anyone has a Ford, obviously he's checked. Only the Ford Mondeo 1.8 is affected. For those of you who haven't checked yet.
Does that include something that old? And the thing is, even if it works with the E10 petrol, my vehicle may as well just be like Fred Flintstone powered. It would probably be quicker. There's a top speed of about 55 mile an hour going uphill. It doesn't do hills very well. It doesn't do downhills terribly well either, to be honest. So if you're taking out 5% petrol and you're adding in 5%, like hardly anything, then it's not going to be happy, that's for sure. Anyway, they're moving it out. Normal petrol is called E5, meaning it's 5% bioethanol and is better for the environment than 100% petrol, allegedly. And we're going to be coming up to that later on. As of September, the standard petrol will be E10, leaving drivers having to pay more for super unleaded fuels.
I feel like you've skipped a bit. And just to clarify, if anyone did miss it, if you have a petrol motor at the moment, the E5 petrol you're buying would be called unleaded. And what's going to happen is when the E10 is introduced in September, it would be called super unleaded. And no, that's not true. The E5 petrol is going to change to super unleaded, which will, of course, cause you to pay a few extra pounds when you fill up your tank. Now, we did read a story. Do you have the story where it says that it would be an extra £10 per litre?
I do indeed. ASDAC has said 20,000 Golfs are going to be affected. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
You're taking me out of the order of how I do this. Do you want me to skip ahead, or?
I would have started with that one.
My new apprentice can't get it quick enough, let me tell you.
No, I think this is a case of the apprentice has outshone the master, and shall I carry on? This is tonight's show, everyone. Just enjoy. Am I reading this?
I assumed you were. I'm sitting here quietly waiting for you to kick in. Maybe Joe's broken tonight.
I'm sitting here quietly waiting for you to kick in. I literally can see one paragraph. So talking about the same situation, I know this stuff already. You're going to go super slow.
I'm waiting for you to read. Drivers of older vehicles are facing higher price. But whatever, okay. Changes to petrol designed to help the country become greener could add up to £6.11 to the cost of fuel for more than 500,000 car owners. But to be honest, that is a heck of a lot of money. I agree with Daffod. It's just another tax for the poor. That's all it is.
Well, it is, because your brand new car is automatically going to be compatible with this new E10 petrol, and your older car, which most people can afford, will not. And if you add on to that the average cost of living for poorer people, And if you take away the fact that they may not be able to keep their cars on the road after this, the cost of everything is going to go up for them, because where they would normally have been able to shop around for deals and bargains, they're now going to have to stay very local, and local might mean one shop. So this is an incredible tax on the poor. But it's always the poor. Whenever one of these changes are introduced, it's always the poor who suffer. And this going green, I mean, given what our governments are doing to nature and to everything that's natural, how dare they lecture us on being green? Unless, of course, it's a satirical take on it, because green is also a word for naive. And we certainly know what they think of us, don't we?
They think we're idiots, and they sure as hell let us know it all the time.
Yeah.
All cars made after 2011 are compatible with E10. The majority of cars made since the late 90s are as well. The problem is, majority is not all.
No, and as we know, the media have a very loose grip on meanings and definitions. It's interesting to note, though, that when they talk about this, they say things like majority to make you think everything is okay. And we know that a lot of people just read the headline and kind of skim over it and move on. I bet loads of people don't understand the real ramifications of some legislative change like this. We know that there are going to be problems, but that's all right, because there are problems, as always.
We are lucky. The switch to won't be immediate. Forecourts across the country can start offering E10 from September, and they won't all switch over at once.
So just to clarify what we said earlier, once a petrol station switches to E10, it won't offer E5 as standard unleaded, and E5 will only be available in the form of the higher price super unleaded. There's also a risk if your car is not compatible with E10. If you put E10 in your car by mistake, it says here you can get away with it once, but you shouldn't do it all the time. Given that we don't trust them, I would suggest you don't do it at all. And they're talking about sort of plastic components and rubber components being affected, because the formula is different now.
There's going to be another effect of this, I just realised. As things go on, you're going to start seeing more used cars up for sale, and they're going to be these sort of cars where people have put E10 in consistently, and there are starting to become problems with the engine. So that's going to drop it's going to drop the quality of used cars available.
That's
because suddenly, rather than all the normal problems you get when looking at a new car, suddenly you're going to be coming up against all these sort of things. You're going to have seals not sealing properly, and various other things inside the engine starting to, corrode, basically, rot away.
Yeah. I will say, there's a couple of comments I want to read out on the back of that. First of all, Barndor says, whose idea was this, a 4-star general? Probably. Johnny Not Powell has very kindly, replying to Will actually, says, ethanol in fuel causes water and rots metal parts in the fuel system. Someone will produce a stabilizer additive. It's nothing to worry about. But Jordan's point just now is very apt. How many people know their way around a car and know what to look for when they're buying a car? I suggest if you have a mechanic, you become very, very good friends with them. Because as Jordan just pointed out, if people have damaged the car somehow, or caused problems with parts, with erosion, if it's failed an MOT because of it, they're going to sell that car to you, and this will be yet another problem for you to look for.
I'm kind of interested to know which... The thing about ethanol is there is less power in 1 litre of ethanol than there is in 1 litre of petrol. It is quite a big thing to go from a 100% solution down to a 10% solution. I'm interested to know if that would affect large engines or small engines more, just that loss of power. Because if an engine is underpowered, I don't think I don't think that's going to be good for it long term. Because you're basically starving the engine of momentum. That's what I'm trying to get at. So the pistons that are going up and down, suddenly they're not going up and down with the amount of force that they were designed to be going up and down with. How that is going to affect things in long term, I'm not sure.
I would say that there's a really good comment actually made by King Edward about the roads being backed up. If cars lose power, it's going to be noticeable. I don't have the list order, unfortunately, but I want to really segue into the next section where we talk about availability of secondhand cars in the first place, and why these things happening at the same time are going to be really problematic for those of us who can't afford a brand new car. Where is that on your list?
To find it. You're not letting me segue.
I'm sorry, but it's important, and unfortunately, it's just the way the conversation has gone. So basically, I'll talk while Jordan brings up the story. So basically, in addition to you potentially buying a lemon, because now you don't know if the car has been damaged by someone putting the wrong fuel in it, you've also got the problem that because of major defects with the supply chain currently, people with the money to buy new cars have not been able to access them. There hasn't been the stock available. They've been buying your high-end second-hand cars, which has rocketed the price of all second-hand cars. And of course, again, it always flows downhill, doesn't it? That stuff I'm not going to mention.
I have the article.
Ah, right. Okay. Well, basically, there is a shortage of second-hand cars. The cars that are available may have been damaged because people are going to put the wrong petrol in them, because people just simply do not read the information. We know this. There's another topic we've been covering recently, and we know that people aren't doing the research. So basically, if you know a mechanic or you're on good terms with someone who knows their way around a car, ask them to come with you when you buy one. Ask them to
I
look
will
it
say
over.
that there is one pretty good thing about this. Most cars are going to be unaffected. It's just going to be pretty old cars like mine that aren't. The majority of people aren't driving them around. Well, at least they're not driving them around often. There are people who are, obviously, such as myself.
Yeah, they mentioned classic cars as well.
Yeah, I do understand that there will be a lot of people with problems, but there are other problems when it comes to this specifically, because they're having to grow that ethanol. And we know that we're already under an immense amount of pressure anyway because of harvest failures and things like that, which we'll be getting into later on. And it doesn't make sense. Obviously, from our perspective, it does make sense because we know what they're doing. But just from a normal person's perspective, looking at this, it doesn't make sense why they are telling us that adding a lot more ethanol into petrol is going to be good for the environment when you then need to grow that ethanol somewhere, somehow. So that means you're going to be seeing more fields of sugar beet and things like that.
So they're basically going to use the available farmland to grow things like, I don't know, these foundational properties for petrol. Meanwhile, they talk about global starvation all the time. Just real quick before we move on, Will is asking, is there an estimate of how many drivers have older or incompatible vehicles? I don't believe this number, but they have said on their website approximately 700,000 cars.
Do you think it's more or less?
More. Tons more.
Really? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think that they want people to put the wrong petrol in their car, or they want people to pay through the nose for the right petrol. I think that they are counting on the fact that, as with everything else, quite a lot of people don't read the small print. They don't do the research. They don't understand what the change is, or they don't pay any attention to it. I think it's a lot more.
I think Rome would has It's a
How can
great
they
take on
possibly
this.
know how many cars are going to be compatible when they're rolling out something new? Sorry.
As I was saying. He said, ruins all cars to force you into electric cars.
Well, now that's the next part we were going to jump on. This is like slaughtering the golden goose and smashing all the eggs at the same time, from our perspective. So they do this to petrol vehicles. They've already tried to get rid of diesel vehicles by lying about emissions, which was exposed. So loads of people scrap their diesels. Loads of these second-hand cars that people who can afford brand new cars are going to just ditch when new cars are available again, are going to probably be scrapped. The cars that are damaged by these fuel incompatibilities are also probably going to be scrapped because most people don't know how to fix a car. And money's going to be tight because they'll spend all their available money on trying to source food. So what we're going to have we're going to have this push for electric vehicles. We're going to have this push for more expensive fuel prices, again hitting the poor. The poor can't afford electric vehicles because there are no second-hand or at least in their price range second-hand electric vehicles because it's a brand new concept. I don't think it's to push people to electric vehicles as much as it's to push those who can afford it to electric, and those who can't, no vehicle, no escape, no freedom.
There was
Johnny
an
Redpill's.
article I don't seem to have, and I'm not sure why I don't have it. I think maybe because I saved it. I put it to one side for a stream that we did recently, but we didn't cover. But it was basically to do with the ultra low emission zone in London, and the person who was writing the article was the Guardian, obviously. When you hear the title, you can understand why. It was basically, why don't poor people just buy better cars? It was something as incredibly tone deaf as that. It wasn't quite as blunt as that. You choke up, Joe. It
I
wasn't
just
something
spat my
quite
coffee out.
it wasn't quite as tone deaf as that, but it was really, really close. It was really close. It was basically, why don't Londoners should upgrade their cars to get around the low emission zone. That was it.
I was going to say I felt a rant coming on then. I was gobsmacked by that. We do have that article, by the way.
Oh, good.
Let me find it real quick. In fact, I'll tell you where it is.
You find that Johnny Not Power said electric batteries only last 7 years max. I didn't realise they lasted that long. I expected it to be, frankly, like 3 or 4. Willers then said, I do want to add some ethanol, if done properly, could slightly reduce dependency on foreign oil. The problem there is you have to grow the ethanol. So what you're not getting in foreign oil, you're importing. And you're importing in either directly, you're importing ethanol from another nation, which is still basically depending on foreign oil, effectively, or you're importing food. Because instead of having 8 million acres of potatoes, you have swapped out that 8 million acres of potatoes and you're putting 8 million acres of corn or sugar beet. Either which way, you're relying on someone for something.
Johnny Redpill Seed says they're going to keep watering down the fuel until it's E100. And Bandor says the diesel Volvo, can't speak now, running on chip fat my way smells like a battered sausage when it overtakes. Fearless Bear
I like
says,
a nice bad sausage.
Fearless Bear says, get IKEA bike, use promo code Greta for 20% off. Don't start me on Greta. DJ Mark, you grew up in Leighton. I'm sure you may have told me this already. Yes, so anyway, I sent you the link, so you've got that now. Let's have a quick look at this.
These Londoners getting together, having a conversation. Just you wait until we get Russell Brand on the show, but we'll talk about the wonders that is Romford. Anyway, talking point. It was the Standard. Sorry, not the Guardian. I apologise to the Guardian for once. Should Londoners be forced to upgrade their vehicles or pay more to meet low emission standards? What a wonderful choice! What an amazing choice!
Whose talking point is this?
An
Ugh.
idiot. Her name's Sophie Rainbow.
Sophie Rainbow. You couldn't make this up. Why don't just call yourself Sophie
that's a
Safe
good-
Space? Just real quick, Jordan. John has posted an article here at 7:52. If you want to grab it. Thank you very much for that. Good evening, Laurie. I'm sorry if we missed you earlier. I haven't actually said good evening individually to anyone, so you're the only one. There you go.
You said good evening to me.
Did
Kind
I?
of.
Oh, I didn't mean
Kind
to.
of. The famous Rainbow family. Oh, yes, the Rainbow family.
Right, I'm just catching up on the chat now. The problem, though, Will, with electric cars is that somebody is controlling your access to fuel.
Yeah, that's another issue with them. Because you can hardly charge them with a bloody generator.
Right, I can't call out Laurie and ignore the others. There's a couple of other latecomers here, and I must mention them. So, good evening, Ben Mew. And there's another one I saw. Who is it? Aramis, good evening. And I think that's it. Driverless cars. What a concept. I wonder how that's going to work with all this nonsense going on. Because we've talked about this. Up the Orient, another Leighton person there. How is the driverless car going to work in this craziness that we're discussing now? Take care, Mark.
In regards to what? Are they going to self-fuel themselves?
Well, for the
you need to give me some meat.
You
can't just give me a question.
For the money they're going to charge, they want to fill up themselves, although they'll probably put the wrong petrol in and break themselves anyway. Or unless the driverless car's all electric. I'm not quite sure. Or are they hybrids?
Obsolescence. if it doesn't work, if it works for too long, we make sure it doesn't.
Yeah, that should be their slogan. Good evening, Neil. Welcome back.
Indeed. Anyway, apparently, Sadiq Khan warned today, recently, actually a day ago. What the hell? I swear I saw this last week. Anyway, he warned today that cash subsidies helping Londoners to upgrade their car before the ultra low emission zone expansion will run out pretty soon. The ultra low emission zone will expand from central London to the inner boundaries of North and South Circular later this year. That, for me, big issue, because I live to show you how stupid this is. My dad has many cousins, but two of them specifically. One lives on one side of the North Circular, and the other lives on the other. So, as my dad's cousin has said, whenever he wants to go and see his sister, he's going to have to pay £12.50 daily levy in order to drive a total of about 3 minutes.
So if you live in these areas, do you have to pay this amount each day because your car is there, or is it only when you're physically driving it?
From what I understand, it is only if you cross the border. If you're inside, and you're inside all the time, it's fine.
So if you're inside all the time, you don't pay? If you're polluting all the time, you don't pay. But if you just pollute once a year, you do pay.
I believe.
I'm not sure. Fair system.
I wouldn't quote me on that, but it is. I believe that is how it is going to work.
We've been preempted again. I'm going to ruin another segue. Sorry.
Go on.
Are you done with Mayor Ratweasel?
Oh, I was done with him a couple of years ago.
Oh, weren't we all? English Will
Indeed.
says, did you see Tesco and Sainsbury's new pre-100 bill policy? Do we want to have a quick chat about that? It's
Oh,
actually
absolutely.
£99. But yeah. Okay, where do we begin? So many people living in the UK will already know that some supermarkets have had this in place. And this is to clarify for anyone who's unaware. When you go to a petrol station, you have two options in the UK. You can pay at checkout or pay at kiosk, or you can pay at pump. And if you want to pay at pump, there is a levy now of £99. And what happens is essentially when you put your credit or debit card into the machine to pay, the bank, the supermarket, who knows? I don't even know at this point. Somebody takes £99 out of your available balance and puts it on hold. This is the levy, I suppose. And then you fill up your car, and then what happens is the amount you've actually spent is deducted from your balance, and the remainder is put back in your account within approximately 60 minutes. Okay, the problem is if you don't have £99 available on your card, somehow the supermarket is entitled to know how much money you do currently have. And if you fill up and you've only got, say, £35, once you hit the £35 mark, the pump will stop pumping and the gas will stop. The issue we've got with this, of course, is not that people should get something for free. Of course, if you want something, you should pay for it. It's the invasion of privacy again. I do not like that these people have so much control.
I have to put a comment from Andrew. Who said, I've never seen a pay at pump in the UK. I've only seen it in France. I'll be honest. I've never paid a kiosk. And furthermore, I don't remember the last time. I'm trying to think. The last time I can't think the last time I even saw somebody go into the petrol station to pay purely for petrol.
Well, I'm sure in the last 18 months...
Wait, that's a slight lie. That's a slight lie. I'll just remember what used to be Texaco at Poplar. I can't think what the hell it is nowadays. I think it's a Shell nowadays. They don't do pay at pump. And the last time I was in London, I needed petrol. Stop there. That is it. That is the first time in my life. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just walked up and I said, I put 30 quid in my car. And he just looked at me with that blank look that you would get off people who live in that area. And they're not English, so you can work that out. And he asked for confirmation and then held his hand out. It was a very awkward encounter and it made me very uncomfortable.
Well, that's weird. That's weird what Andrew said. And Monty says petrol's gone up my village. I've just got to Andrew's comment now. I haven't seen a petrol station in the UK that doesn't have pay at pump as an option.
He's using fancy ones.
Yeah, fancy schmancy. That's interesting. So Boudica says pay at pump is pretty much the way we do it here, but you get to pick the amount of the prepay. Yeah, well, yep. None of us in the UK get to choose anything, it seems, anymore.
But you're saying you don't pay at pump, do you?
No.
Why?
No, because it doesn't. Because the card I use and the bank I use isn't accepted. I tried it once. I found out it wasn't accepted.
Were you using your Bank of Nigeria card again?
Don't tell everyone. He promised he was a prince. He promised me.
Oh, I like it. Johnny's nailed this. Just make a campaign saying it discriminates against BAME people.
Ooh.
I think that's the way to do it. From here on in, that's what we do. Doesn't matter what it is, discriminates.
Well, let's face it, someone has to be outraged by literally everything. Why not us for a change?
Exactly. But moving on, there is a solution to this. This ridiculous fuel tax and various other things that we're talking about. And it is called getting the train. This segue is not as smooth as necessary. I had the wrong thing copied. Give me a minute.
That's good, because in answer to you, Boudica, what are you getting?
Segways have not been good today. Anyway, the train gets us around all these things, and because we love the environment, we're going to get the train. Oh no, wait a minute, we cut down trees in order to get on the train.
Okay, so there is a chain going on here, isn't there? And it's just the craziest thing ever.
There is. I'm trying to get us back onto the Segway path, which is what we're going to do. So as everybody knows, or at least everybody in this country knows, during the HS2 thing, they've cut down an incredible number of trees, an incredible number of really, really old trees. It is just horrific, really. And they've done this across, if I remember rightly, they even went through an ancient forest.
Because nothing means anything to them.
Exactly. Like an ancient woodland, which in this country, I believe ancient is anything before, or in terms of woodland anyway, anything before 1650 something.
It just goes to show that nothing is sacred. They will destroy anything that gets in the way of their agenda.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it comes to building new houses. 36 mature to be cut down for new housing developments in Blackheath. This was earlier on in the year, and, well, they did it.
Well, they keep telling us we have a shrinking population. Why are we building all this housing, I wonder?
Oh, Joe, you gave away a story for later on. But the reason we bring this up, even though it doesn't seem to have anything to do with anything at all, is because at the same time they're doing this, a beekeeper in Blackheath who consulted with Nelson Mandela's agricultural minister. What the hell? Okay, weird. Anyway, the reason we're bringing this up is because at the same time they're doing this, they're cutting trees down, they're adding in ethanol into petrol and all the rest of that jazz. They're also rewilding parts of Scotland. And without a doubt, they're doing it in England as well. I know when it comes to... bloody cookies, leave me alone. I know when it comes to... Joe, help me. Make me think.
I don't know what you're trying to say.
There was the pop-up, it threw me off. Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. Carry on. That is it. England Heritage. England Heritage. Here we go. They also own a number of farms, and they're doing things like increasing the number of hedgerows, and that's great. Good, I approve of that. They're also leaving fields to go fallow. They want to leave, if I remember rightly, 10% of their lands to go fallow, which overall equates to a heck of a lot of this nation's farming land. So they're doing things at both ends of the spectrum, is what I'm getting at, in a very, very roundabout and ill-conceived way.
It's shocking. And again, I can't say anything because you've got your stories lined up. Next one.
No, you can say things.
I can't say anything. I don't know what you've got lined up next.
Just say, talk.
Okay, fine, whatever then. Okay, so basically, they are destroying farms to plant trees. Mm-hmm. They're destroying trees to build homes and lay railway lines that nobody wants, by the way, and the taxpayer can't really afford, given that we've just had an 18-month lockdown. They're building homes for parasites who are coming to our country illegally and otherwise, who we don't want, we didn't ask for, and we'd like them to leave. While we stay on the waiting list and get pushed further and further to the bottom of it. Then they tell us we aren't green enough. Then they tell us that we're a drain on oxygen, and they're cutting down the very thing that produces it. Destroy farms to plant trees, destroy trees to build homes for migrants and everyone else. Bye-bye, you're not important, we don't care. There you go. I said it.
Thank you. What a weird sign off. There you go, I said it.
And the truly, truly sad thing is these people aren't even idiots. They're
No, they're
doing this
doing it
deliberately.
deliberately. They're doing it deliberately, and you can see it across the board. It doesn't matter. It's so many different angles they're getting us at with these little things, and it's not much by itself, but it adds up really, really quickly. Like the E10 petrol, for example. Suddenly adding 5% ethanol, you're going to have to be buying that in from abroad or growing it. Considering we grow a lot of sugar beet in this country anyway, odds are we're going to be growing it. So suddenly you're going to have food problems anyway, exacerbated by the fact that many farmers are now turning towards growing sugar beet because they know that they're going to be able to sell it to the petrol companies cheaply.
In addition,
Sorry, not cheaply, expensively.
And in addition, any food that requires the same ingredients that they're using for other things for this so-called green agenda, the price of that is going to shoot up.
Exactly, because suddenly there's competition for it. You're not just taking in sugar beet and making it into sugar, but now you're taking in sugar beet, you're making it into sugar, and you're making it into ethanol. Suddenly the price of sugar goes up. Well, then everything that uses sugar is going to go up as well to reflect that, and it compounds.
Yeah.
And it is not helped by the weirdness that's going on in the world at the moment. Canada, as we mentioned yesterday, a little tiny bit, roasty toasty at the moment. It got up, Canada of all places, it got up to 49.6 degrees. What the hell is happening? That's hotter than than anything.
Is this where I don my tinfoil hat for a moment?
Oh, please do.
I have suspected for quite some time. I haven't deeply researched this, so forgive my lack of intimate knowledge and detail. But we know that these people are affecting the weather. We know they are. Mm-hmm. We know that global warming and cooling are naturally occurring phenomena. We know this. This can be tracked and proven. You know, before science was under such scrutiny that it failed every single test. We know this. We know that everything that's happening to some degree is manufactured. From being locked in your home, to being forced to drive a certain car, to being charged whatever fee to do things that you didn't get a charge for before, to stupid taxes on things that don't require them. All of this is manufactured. And the cost, once again, is life. But not their lives, our lives. And it always comes down to the same thing. Our lives are expendable. We are expendable. They say they care about the environment. They obviously don't. And anyone who thinks they do, just come on, read a book. They do not care about anything except making themselves richer and more powerful and maintaining more control. And that's all this is ever going to be about. It's all it's ever been about. They just haven't been brazen like they have in the last 18 months. A lot of people have done a lot of research and found a lot of very concerning things going on. But the one thing that they can't control is what we think, who we speak to, and how we live, unless we let them. But this is scary, as Jordan said. They are coming at us from every direction. And that's a hell of a lot to cope with. It's overwhelming for many people.
I can't find the link that I wanted, but apparently Brazil has undergone a massive frost over the last couple of days. So at the same time that Canada has become hotter than hell, basically, hotter than most parts of Africa, Brazil, which is a jungle, rather roasty toasty, has had frost. And they've had a lot of frost, and it's ruined their crops. And this is at the time I don't know what crop it has ruined. I'm going to have to look into this a bit more because I only came across this just before I had dinner and just before we got onto stream. So I'm going to have to look into what crop has been ruined. But if it is something like soy, then we've got a problem, considering that the Chinese were buying that up like mad. And now instead of buying soy, they're going to be buying other things, probably grains, which means the price of our bread is going to go up and the price of our, well, everything else that requires grain. So like beer, for example, just general food.
It's like a fragile ecosystem. If you remove one thing from the chain, it has a massive impact on everything else. You destroy one crop, name it wheat, let's say wheat. You destroy one crop globally, something else has to replace that wheat in every single country. And that's the knock-on effect. And it starts to affect everything else along the chain.
Exactly. That's why I get kind of frustrated when people just laugh it off and say, oh, it's soy, don't eat soy anyway. It's like, okay, fine, don't eat soy. But understand, one, a lot of people do eat soy. Two, a lot of animals eat soy. So even if you're not eating it directly, if there's a massive crop failure, the things that were eating it are suddenly going to have to eat different things or they're going to die. Well, that's not a sustainable model if you're a farmer. So you're going to find something to feed those animals. And furthermore, it's not what humans do. When we need to eat, we find some food and we'll go eat something else instead. So all those people and all those animals that were eating soy suddenly can't get a hold of soy. They're going to eat something else. And this can be something like wheat and barley and various other bits and bobs. And then the price of everything else goes up through the roof.
And it's not just the price. The obvious knock-on effect is when they remove one thing, there is less available of every other thing. So not only will the price go up, but your access to it will drop.
Will has said the cost of beef has gone up again. I sent a video to Joe the other day. I've been meaning to translate. I think I mentioned this on stream. I'm not sure. It was a while ago. It was from a cattle farm in the US. And what he said was absolutely amazing. It was basically cattle farmers are making barely anything on their cattle before they sell it off to go be slaughtered. And I genuinely mean barely anything. By the end of it, they're making like a couple of dollars at most. The meat processing companies, on the other hand, they're making £1.2 billion a week. The middlemen are squeezing the life out of the industry. They've done it in the pork industry, apparently, and they've also done it in chickens. And they've now turned their sights onto beef. So yes, I would very much expect beef prices to start going through the roof very, very quickly in the US.
These manufactured shortages, again, it's the knock-on effect is hitting your average family, and they know it because the people doing these things to us have prepared. They know what's coming and they prepare for it. It's like shorting the market. They know. They don't go without. They don't suffer losses. They don't pay extortionate prices. They are the cause of it. Jordan, I just dropped you a link.
What causes extortionate prices, Joe? Would it possibly be a meat tax?
Oh, I don't know. There you go.
Boris
You finally got
Johnson's
your
food
perfect
says
segue.
Brits may have... You interrupted me. Boris Johnson Food Czar says Brits may have to pay food tax on meat in future, even if it sparks. Right. Basically, don't care how unhappy you are, you're going to pay it, lads. I don't think these people fully understand. Decide we're not going to do something, and enough of us get together and say, yeah, we've had enough. That's all their power gone. It'll evaporate immediately.
Johnny Not Powell says riots it will be then. The thing is, they want us to eat bugs, and they are trying to convince us that animals are dirty, dangerous, the spreader of viruses and diseases, that they are harming the economy, they're harming the environment, and yet for thousands and thousands of years, our people have farmed. Thousands of years. This is all just, again, part of the agenda. If anyone wants to eat bugs, have at it. Good on you. Go for it. But if anyone doesn't, they're trying to take away your choice to say no. And your choice is going to be bugs or vegan. So you better hope those soy crops don't get destroyed because we're all going to be eating soy. Let's have a look at some of these. Pow, I can't believe you wrote that. I don't know what to say. Will says, now attacks on the meat too, they are merciless. Yes, they are. Monty says unrest is coming. People are going to find that there is a threshold. There's going to be a limit to what they'll accept. And we've always said this. People will put up with a lot while they're not hungry. But once their food is affected, people who were once reasonable are going to be violent and irritable and moody and unreasonable, and you don't know how these people are going to react.
Well, it's a really good example. We all know from our personal lives. You know, you're not you when you're hungry, as the Mars bar advert. No, Snickers say.
Yeah.
You're not you when you're hungry. Now imagine that when it is multiple people. And then imagine that when it is streets. And imagine that when it's towns.
But that's atavistic. That's a survival throwback. The reason why we're so irritable when we're hungry is because the one thing that everyone should have the right to, yes, I'm talking about the God-given right now, is to provide food for themselves. Mm-hmm. No one else is, you're not entitled to take it from someone else, but you should have the right to find it for yourself.
Yeah, and in this country we can't. Our society has become so backwards that it just doesn't function properly.
Well,
We've got so many people working. Not just we can't hunt, but we have so many people doing jobs that I constantly pick on accountants. I'm sorry for any accountants listening, but you got so many people who just push numbers from one Excel column into another. It's not real work. It's not really doing anything. You're just doing something to appease the government. There's so many useless jobs out there, and they're so incredibly unfulfilling and soul-crushing, and they're designed that way in many different ways.
Will says, where's Gordon Ramsay? Shouldn't he be against this? Yeah, where are you, Gordon? Come on.
If I remember rightly, is Gordon Ramsay for it? I know Jamie Oliver is.
No, Gordon Ramsay loves meat. If he is for this, I will be shocked and disappointed. And Jamie Oliver, does anyone actually care what he thinks about anything these days? Johnny Redpill Seed says, imagine how the BBC will report on the meat rioters. Oh, they'll probably use the like awful carnivorous terms in the headlines, won't they? Laurie says, South America has plenty of cattle land already. It's total BS. Barn Door says they can bugger off. Yeah, my stepdad's not mean says they'll use inclusive language like we, us, our when the time comes, as though they'll be effective. Boudica says, I'm not eating soy. No soy on the homestead. Folkstead. Damn, I get that wrong every time. Oh, bless. Sir Francis says, I have a yellow vest t-shirt with nationalism now written on it. Bless you. Oh, yes, that's a good point, Daffy. They'll probably call the meat rioters gammons. Of course they will. Of course they will.
Can't get any gammon, but you got plenty of gammons.
There you go. Barn Door got your reference to that advert. Give hunger the heave-ho. Did not make what comment, Arthur? Have I missed something?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
I've no idea. Sorry. Will says, when people are fat, they are complacent. When they don't have all that food to keep them sated, they get angry.
Absolutely.
I do. That is a part of it, but I also think for many people, certainly, I came from a poor working class family, and I remember speaking to my mum about this, and she said basically the one indicator that she was doing okay was that there was food in the cupboard, that she was providing for her family. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a psychological win as well. It's not just about, I want to stuff my face. I think it goes much deeper than that.
Yeah,
Sorry, carry
it's
on.
basically the one thing you need. It's like you need shelter, you need food. If you've got both of them, ultimately you're going to be okay.
Well, David makes a good point. Restaurants already pay meat tax. It's called VAT. I wonder if they'll tax you twice.
Yes. And they'll compound it and compound it and compound it.
And Boudica says this is why folk always had a few chickens or a pig and a garden. We are in dire straits here, not to play this down at all. There's a reason why we used to live the way we did.
Mm-hmm.
And although we didn't, create a new nation to show how unimpressed we were with the current government, America, we have always been aware that tyranny was just around the corner. And there has been a concerted effort for the last few decades to destroy all of that sense of community and fending for yourself and self-sufficiency and being productive. As Jordan said, people now spend all of their time working at a job they hate to pay for things they don't need. We've moved so far away from what we should be doing now. But we've had people interfere with our journey.
Mm-hmm.
All of this has been manufactured and all of this has been nudged and coerced and influenced. We need to get back to nature.
Just getting onto community and how communities could do things and make it work. Say like a chicken, for example. Now, anyone who has chickens or knows somebody who does have chickens knows that they produce an incredible number of eggs. Just an unbelievable number of eggs. You could easily get together and say, right, Bob, at number 53, you're going to be the chicken man. You've got the largest garden. You're going to grow the chickens. Everyone in that street, we're going to pull together all our kitchen scraps. We're going to feed your chickens. And then we're going to get the eggs from that chicken. That is a proper community way to do things. That way we're not all keeping things like chickens. And we're not all growing things like beetroot. God help us. We can actually spread it out a little bit. Because one person trying to grow everything in order to feed themselves, while it would be possible, it's probably not the most efficient use of space. Or certainly not when it comes to things like chickens.
And it's unlikely that someone would have the expertise to grow all of those things successfully.
There's that as well. There's also the fact that some people just don't have the right soil for it. Soil changes, garden conditions change. If you, for example, if you're in the middle of two houses and those two houses have large fences and your garden is very dark, doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to be able to grow something that requires a lot of light.
That's true. And if your garden's shady, you'd be better off raising the animals.
Exactly. Housing estates especially, they all have that sort of condition. They all have a house that is tucked away in the corner. There's some trees at the back. There's houses all around. There's not very much light getting into the garden. But that garden is still usable. It would still be great for something like the chickens. And you could pay someone, you could say, there you are. Here's all the kitchen scraps. We're going to feed your chickens. We're also going to get the eggs from it, and we're going to share the eggs around.
And that's the way this works. So one person makes something, there's a byproduct from it, or they sell it. Every community could live like this, and every community could contribute in their own small way. Imagine how easy it would be for 20 neighbours to each take on a project that they can excel at, one thing to focus on, one thing to be brilliant at, instead of one neighbour trying to do everything and failing at all of it. Oh my God, it's the washer-dryer analogy, isn't it? But
you love your bloody washer dryers. I didn't even know these were a thing until you mentioned them.
Oh God, they're useless. But it's true. If so, you could have one person growing. I don't know. You wouldn't have to be one single thing, like potatoes, carrots, and peas, for instance. And another neighbour could be growing strawberries and raspberries and blueberries. And another neighbour could be raising pigs, and another neighbour could be raising chickens. working together is how we're going to get out of this. It truly is the only way. And it would mean that people who think they have nothing to offer to a community could learn one relatively easy skill. Gardening is a skill, there's no question. But a lot of people have been forced to become gardeners over the last year and a half, and bakers, and various other things that they never thought they could do, never had the confidence to try. Well, sometimes necessity forces you to do things and to push yourself beyond boundaries that you never thought you would. And of course, we're not just talking about a load of bubbles here. I'm back on the bubbles, I know. You're not going to be doing these things in isolation. Your neighbours, everyone's going to help everyone else. This can be done. This can be done on every street, in every village, if we want it. If we're willing to put in the work. I mean, even old people during the lockdown were planting things like communal gardens, and it may seem like nothing in the grand scheme of things, but when those flowers bloom, they make everyone smile. They make people happy just for a moment. It really does make a difference.
Getting on to hard work, John Enoch Powell said he saw an article today about a village in Wales that bought their local pub. Why didn't they buy a farm? The reason for that is because it's hard work. Buying a pub is fun and it's easy. You pull together, you buy your pub, you all go in there, you drink, life carries on as normal. Buying a farm, on the other hand, well, now you actually have to do something. Now you actually have to work.
Yeah, like getting up at 3 a.m, depending on the type of farm it is. If it's a dairy farm, you're definitely getting up when most other people are going to bed.
Exactly. If it's a wheat farm, you're going to be staying up all night doing the combining. You've got to actually do some work, and that's why. And that's why you see it so incredibly often. Village pub goes bust. Village bands together to buy it. Meanwhile, village farm goes bust. Large international company steps in and buys it, or
Yes.
bank takes land back and then sells it to their friend, i.e. someone like Bill Gates or various other people like that. You see it time and time and time again. And it is a massive, massive shame.
Will says that's why the lefty Antifa preppers fail. They can't figure out how to get the animals to reproduce. Well, I
don't understand. We put two male pigs together, they're gay. Why are they not producing little gay babies? You can't put a male pig in with a female pig, you'll rape her.
Wow, okay. Yes, exactly, Boudica. That sort of set up lessens the load. But it means you're all in it together. It means it benefits all of you to work as hard as everyone else. It means nobody is getting a free ride, which causes resentment. And it means that everyone is invested in the project. And the project is your survival. It's not just some gimmicky thing. This is the difference between you eating and not eating, feeding your family or not. And yes, it's not so much work.
Will has said, if he's honest, he'd rather be a publican than a farmer. That's the exact opposite of my opinion. I would absolutely hate to be a publican.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, each to their own. There are jobs for everyone, as long as you've got someone in your community doing all of the essential jobs. Somebody's got to run the village pub. Boudica goes on to say, even large farm activities like milking cows, butchering, etc., can be done easily with lots of hands. It's a learning curve, but you know what? We adapt. It's what we've always done. It's why we've always won. Because we've adapted. Bandor said in answer to your question, turkey baster for the pigs.
But Joe, as you well know, going forward, we're going to need a couple of extra helping hands.
Oh, really?
Indeed we are. We're going to need a couple of extra helping hands. And these people, they're so gutted that they're not able to come here and help us because of our nasty, mean, evil government. They are going on a hunger strike.
Oh dear. Who could these people be?
I know, right? These poor people. Hundreds of migrant stage hunger strikes in Brussels. Obviously, these people that are complaining about the fact they're not allowed to get this lad has sewn his mouth shut. This is also in an attempt to help us with the global food problem.
Can I just say,
Because as we've just covered, food is going to be an issue, and this lad is making sure that we get ours.
if Andrew had done that, the stitching would be much higher quality, is all I'm saying. And that's a poor attempt. That's just like for show. That's not really close. You can still get a straw in between the stitches. Can we say the famous line? You starve for us now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
First it was clapping, now it's starving. Actually, no. You got it wrong, Joe. You got it wrong. Not you starve for us now. It's we starve for you now.
Oh, that's true. Yes, because when there's not enough food to go around, and when we are, just like spending too much money and creating all this bad carbon dioxide, let's send the rest of the world to Europe to just make it worse, so we can be lectured by people and told how bad we are when every other country is doing it. I want to get back to a comment that One Easy Money made. Doesn't communities that keep itself segregated from other communities still need commerce from others in order to stimulate? Yes, of course. But when we talk about segregation, we're not talking about segregating from all other communities, just the weird, freaky ones that we don't want to associate with.
Exactly.
Each community will tend to its own needs first, and then it will trade with other communities. There might be a community in the next village that is making or growing or breeding something you've been unable to. In which case you would start to trade or barter, or work together to create some kind of system that works for you both.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about
these
segregation,
things have been done before.
Yeah,
this is how things like local specialities came into being. So, for example, things like High Wycombe chairs. They came in because the people around High Wycombe were making chairs, and then they were selling those to somebody down the road, and in exchange for like shoes and jackets and various other things. Things like Stilton and Cheddar. They were made in an area and then expanded out. At the end of the day, these sort of things, they were overcome by our ancestors millennia ago, to the point where we raise them as problems, even though we don't really think they're problems, because we know that we'd just find a way.
they're only problems because we're not used to doing them. The people centuries ago that did this had very little education, probably couldn't read or write, didn't have access to the internet. I mean, there's literally nothing stopping us.
Can you imagine being a merchant back in ancient Rome, for example? And there you were trudging halfway across Europe with some little jars of wine, little barrels of wine. You get to somewhere and you find out that these people don't want any wine, but instead they want some pickled fish. That would have been heartbreaking, because now you're going to have to keep on going. You're going to have to move on to the next town and so on and so forth. Nowadays, we don't have that issue. We can just phone them and ask and say, hello, lads, do you want some wine? And they say yes or no, and then you just send it out. We're in a much better place now than we were like 1,000 years ago, and look at what they were doing.
And plus, as Garfish says, you need to adjust your work to the seasonal cycle. Don't identify with a profession, but get a skill portfolio. The reality is, yeah, that's so good. Because the reality is there are going to be people who are good at lots of things. Some people are going to excel at one or two things. And some people are going to be rubbish at most things and okay at some things. Everyone has a different skill set and everyone has different abilities and talents.
I like that. Skill portfolio. I've never heard of that.
But we can all do something. We can all do something. It doesn't matter what. As long as you are adding value, contributing, you're doing something.
Can you imagine going through your entire life and only being able to do one thing? That's just not realistic. That's not how we're designed.
I don't think anyone can only do one thing.
Isn't it? We're not designed to hyper-specialise to that extent.
I think the problem is not that we can't do many things. I think the problem is that things have become so easy that we don't push ourselves anymore. We don't test ourselves to see what we can do.
I think in a lot of examples, we don't have the opportunity to do them. Think of doing them.
Well, with some
for example, do you know anybody who does pottery?
Not personally, no.
No, exactly.
But
It'd
that's
be
a
interesting
mixture
how
of
many people in chat knows he
that's a
does
mixture of
bots.
skill and money, though, isn't it? You need money for the equipment because
Really?
we've lost the art of doing it old school, like things like kilns and furnaces.
Kilns and furnaces were always very expensive. They're difficult to build.
I always wanted a potter's wheel as a child, but I never got one. Maybe I'd be a master potter now. Who knows? Thanks, Mum. Boudica says, my brother-in-law is going to teach me how to butcher a chicken this summer. He grew up on a farm doing this stuff. Well done. You know what would be great, Boudica, is if once you've learned to do this, you do it live on a stream.
YouTube
Or
gets
maybe
very agitated when you
or maybe
do
or
that on
maybe
the
not
stream for
live,
some
maybe
reason.
record it. Or describe it, or discuss it, or break it down into the technical aspect of it. But that's wonderful. Well done. Right, I'm just catching up on the chat. Sorry, that's why I've gone quiet.
I did wonder. If only
Yes,
said she could do a video.
or another community will have someone with a real talent for furniture making. We need to keep reminding ourselves clothing is really one of the most important things. When we talk about the basic necessities, food, clothing, shelter, those are the three. Are there any others? Have I missed any?
Honestly, not really. So long as we've got food, clothing, and shelter, we're okay. Things like furniture, bit of a luxury.
Well, I mean, we don't want to be sitting on the floor, obviously.
Well, no, but you
Furniture
see
will
my point.
come
Like you don't
in order
get
of
furniture every
priority.
week.
Yeah, in order of priority. We still need people to make things. Someone who is good with wood, who has skill, when they're not making furniture, they can be making other things like storage for your canning. I mean, this doesn't have to be a single sort of skill that's utilized in a single way, which is why we keep talking about sharing skills and utilizing your skills in every way possible. If you're really good at joinery, you can utilize that in a way that's beneficial to people. You can still make furniture as luxury items, but you can also make essentials like shelving systems to store extra food. So there's lots of things we can do. And those who don't have the skills, I know a lot of people have spoken to us over the last year and a bit saying that they've started up something new for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing. It's truly inspiring. Take care, Fearless Bear.
The lad went ages ago. He went to bed.
3 minutes.
It was ages.
Johnny Not Powell says, if you don't try, you'll never know.
Exactly. Well,
Ooh.
tomorrow's stream is going to be a good example of that because I failed in something rather important, and we're gonna pick it apart and dissect it and work out why I'm such a pleb.
Johnny Red Pill Z says, you watched Ghost, didn't you? Yeah, maybe.
Is that one with
Paige
Kevin
Trotters
Swayze?
next week. Kevin Swayze. Kevin Swayze, everyone.
What's his name?
Patrick Swayze.
There we go. Well, Kevin's close enough. Isn't it? Kevin, Patrick, same sort of thing.
Yeah, they sound so alike. It's amazing.
To be fair, I was originally thinking Kevin Sorbo. No, or Sorbo. God damn it! No, not again.
Oh God.
Oh, Andrew, I did something so much worse than an on-off switch. Just dumb. Anyway, carry on.
That would be amazing, Boudica. To spin your own yarn would be wonderful. When we start by using sort of the byproduct or the end product, hopefully we'll get back to the point where we start making things from scratch, like all the way down the chain. But we have to start somewhere, and unfortunately for us, we'd have to start at the end and work our way backwards. I don't know what you're laughing at. I'm still getting there.
I'm laughing at Will. We did it, guys. Kevin Swayze. I don't know why that made me laugh so much.
That's incredible. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Well, you've got the right person, but the wrong movie.
Yeah, that was Greece, wasn't
Oh, please tell me you're joking.
it? That one was a joke. That one was. I don't know what film it was from, but it was a joke.
So you don't know the film that quote is from?
Saturday Night Fever.
Oh my God. No, that's John Travolta.
What was it? Oh, right, so the Greece.
That's also John Travolta.
I
Different
know, that's what
film.
I'm saying. Greece. There you go.
But neither of those are the correct answer.
Yeah, but they're close.
No, they're not.
What do you
Oh,
mean
it's a,
they're not? I've got 2 out of 3.
but the answer, right? Greece was not the answer to any question. Look. Seriously, they've given up on you. They're giving you the answer now. They're giving you the answer.
I couldn't have got it even if I tried, to be honest with you. I knew it was something to do with dancing. I was like, okay, let's go through things that had dancing in them.
And English Will is just
Saturday Night
mocking you at
Fever.
this point. English Will is mocking you now. He said he played with Danny DeVito in Twins, lol.
No, I
Yes.
know that was Schwarzenegger.
And that
big
was
man.
Patrick Schwarzenegger. Yes, that's him.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. We need to get. Yeah, exactly, Aramis. He says, right, Greece is the random is going to be his answer to any random question now.
Look, I have too much knowledge floating around in my brain. That's the problem.
Oh dear.
You're going to be questioning that one tomorrow.
This stream ended in a very, very different place than it started. That's for sure. Oh,
Yeah,
speaking of
in a
which,
good place. Oh.
I kind of don't want to play this now because it's going to make everyone enraged again. But I have a video I'd like to share with you all. I'm going to play the video first. I think it's a little bit of drivel, but it's the last few seconds that are important. So let's play that and see what you think. I actually can't remember how long this is. It's only a couple of minutes. So yeah, let's have a listen.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my questions. I'm wondering about the injunction banning public gatherings and whether there really is a need for such a far-reaching one given the trajectory we're on now.
So, I mean, I think it's still there. We still have bringing large numbers of people together. It can present some risk. We'll continue to look at that. But I think the other purpose of the injunction is to prevent groups that are spreading deliberately spreading false information that can actually create risk. The information itself, if listened to, creates risk to the public as well. So, and that certainly is a need to manage that misinformation campaign as well.
And there you have it.
Misinformation campaign.
There you have it. So the real reason they closed down all the venues, the pubs, isolated us, made us stay at home, was to prevent us from seeing through their propaganda and sharing that information with others. Now, this is obviously Canadian, as you could probably tell. But
they didn't say A bad enough times.
But anyone with the eyes to see can see that this has happened across the globe. Keeping people separated, suspicious of each other, is the way they win. And that's why we must always, always push back on this. I mean, being suspicious of people who deserve suspicion, fine. But buying into this fear-mongering that anyone is a risk to you is exactly what they want. Andrew says they seem to have forgotten about a small thing called the internet. Well, the thing is, Andrew, and I do agree with you, it's a bit short-sighted, but I think they hope that their censorship agenda would work alongside the lockdowns. And they just didn't get away with it. Too many people, and let's face it, these are entrepreneurs, have built too many platforms that they have tried and failed to shut down. They tried it with Gab. They've tried, my goodness, are there any they haven't tried it with? I can't think of a single one where they haven't tried. But again, this is more and more people are going to protest and meeting up and coming together and exchanging phone numbers, and they're building real bonds of friendship and community. They'll only stop us if we allow it.
Mm-hmm.
We're so good when we're together. We are so effective and positive and inspiring. We've got to keep doing what we're doing. Crosshatch 2 says, my Polish
I was
neighbours
just about to read that. That's interesting.
are going back to Poland, 30% hike in wages, and they told me they've spent a fortune on infrastructure. Remaining are halfway there. You must go watch Reverend Simon?
I would imagine so, yes.
Yeah. Andrew, that's amazing.
Do you want to know what else is kind of amazing? This is like a good news story to end on.
Go on.
Dear old Donald Rumsfeld's kicked the bucket.
Ah, too bad, so sad. Bye-bye.
Oddly enough, the other demon, the name of which I've suddenly forgotten, I don't know why, considering that man has been alive since when Christ was born.
Was his face melting? That's the standard.
Is the Jew?
Soros.
No, not him. The other one. Defense Secretary during the Vietnam War.
Oh God!
Escaped Nazi Germany. Henry Kissinger. Thank you. He's still alive. He's still going. He is ancient. He is actually ancient. How old is Henry Kissinger? No, he's still alive. He's back working with the US government.
Of course he is.
The man could have had a retirement career longer than his actual working career, and he's still working. I'm as evil as he is, I'm kind of impressed by his dedication.
That's because they're all addicted to inflicting misery on us. They just can't stop.
No, how old is this man? He's 98 years old. I don't believe you. I think he's older. I do not believe you whatsoever.
Why are they always very old? Why aren't they incredibly young when they behave the way they do?
Well, to be fair, he's been behaving the way he has done since he was a boy. Sometime around when Christ was born, as has been previously discussed. Here you go. He is the oldest he's the oldest former US cabinet member and the last surviving member of Nixon's cabinet. That's insane. That's actually insane. As I said, I'm kind of impressed by his dedication to the bit.
That is amazing, but so totally unsurprising.
It is. I'm trying to think of the segue into the next bit. I can't do it. Children. There we go. You know what's younger than him, other than everything? Children. And children are struggling at the moment, just like I am, to carry on with this bit. They're struggling with mental health issues because of various things, namely lockdowns. Go away, leave me alone. Bloody pop-ups. Number of children taking antidepressant hit an all-time high during lockdown. Who could possibly have seen that coming?
Who
could possibly have seen this coming?
Could we just comment on the irony? Could we just comment on the irony of the Independent saying we value your privacy while touting for a regime of tyrannical power grab?
We value your privacy, but what we really want you to do is sign this agreement stating that you have no privacy.
Sign this agreement so we can track everything you do. Brilliant. So this story is talking about children and young people taking antidepressants during the pandemic. The number of patients aged under 17 being prescribed antidepressants rose by 26% between April 2015 and April 2020. This is because we have enforced this unnatural state of being on our children. And when I say we, I mean we. I mean every parent who bought into the mask nonsense, who forced their children to wash their hands every time they wave to someone. They've done
yes.
They've done this to
COVID
their
transmitted
children.
by waving.
They've done this to their children. They have done it. The state may have had an agenda to harm our children, but you have allowed this to happen. Your most important job is to protect your children. And now we know who they need to be protected from. Lockdowns may have posed additional distress for young people who use school to escape difficult home lives. Well, again, community would prevent that.
Why is it always focused on things that way around? Why is it never, like, lockdowns may have posed additional distress for normal young people who are going about their lives in normality and suddenly being told that no, you have to sit in a cage all day?
Because then they are held accountable.
I like what Dafford has said. Oh yes, clap for the NHS giving kiddies antidepressants.
Exactly. If you are pumping drugs into your children instead of sitting down and getting to the root of the problems, then that's not parenting. You are palming off responsibility to someone else.
No. You're palming off responsibility to a chemical, which is even worse. That is one thing, palming off responsibility to someone else. Palming it off onto a chemical, weird. Really weird.
I would suggest...
Almas has said, even if you stop taking antidepressants, they can permanently affect your health, digestion in particular, as they're absorbed in the stomach. Completely agree. I've had a number of friends over the years who have been on antidepressants for, as far as I'm concerned, very little reason, but whatever. And none of them were ever the same after. None of them ever said they helped. I don't know why people take them. I genuinely do not know anybody who has been on antidepressants and came on and afterwards said, yes, they did me a good service. I genuinely do not know anybody.
They don't help. What they do is just like drink or drugs, or recreational drugs. Mm-hmm. They help you to escape from your problems, but they don't solve anything. They just...
As Johnny Redpill said, out of sight, out of mind strategy.
Yes. Take some pills, go away. When you think about the role of a doctor, a physician, as they used to be called, their job is to enhance your health. But they're not. They're just giving you a placebo. And I know that they're not placebos. I know they're not just like saline solutions or sugar water, if you want to call it that. I know they're not placebos in that respect, but they are a placebo because they're not dealing with a problem. They're just hiding, masking the symptoms so that you can pretend that things are normal. But you're not normal and you're not getting fixed because you've been sent away with something that is just going to hide the problem. I just want to go back to a comment from Jess. Oh, I can't find your first comment. Sorry, love. She was talking about that she had taken antidepressants. She says, I felt like crap on antidepressants and afterwards it didn't get better either. Well, it won't get better because when you come off them, well, you've got two choices to either come off them or to become addicted to them, and that causes another problem in itself. When you come off them, the problems that made you go on them in the first place are still there. Dealing with the problems that cause you to go to the doctor in the first place, that caused you to have some kind of mental health emergency, that is how you solve problems. As David points out, never made anyone better, just some people richer. Well said.
That's my opinion as well.
Johnny Notpal says, I can't even understand my doctor. But they probably crossed a continent to save your life. How ungrateful are you? You clap for us now, remember?
I've heard that if you clap for them before they speak, that suddenly they become easier to understand.
Yeah, I agree with this absolutely, Andrew. The reason why so many people are turning to drugs, prescribed or otherwise, is because reality sucks right now for many people. We're not living the way we should be. And everyone knows something is wrong. Everyone knows. But people are sometimes too caught up in their own misery to extend a helping hand to others. it really does now fall on us to lift ourselves out of this, or at least to try. You can't be part of a happy whole if you're not whole yourself. I do believe in self-healing. I've been on antidepressants. And I packed them in, and I'll tell you why I did, because I decided I wasn't going to be sick anymore. It's very easy for me to say I don't have an addictive personality. I just stopped taking them. I decided I didn't want to be that person anymore, and I stopped. And I started working on my problems, and I felt so much better. And I didn't feel like a zombie, and I didn't feel like drugged and out of it all the time. And that's all they do, is they drug you. They just drug you into apathy, so you stop complaining. Big Pharma has so much to answer to. But they're not the cause of our problems. They're a symptom of it. We need to stop letting these people dictate how we behave. Truly, it's up to us. Stop giving these people power over you. They haven't earned it. They haven't earned the right. They don't have the right to do this. You're giving them access to the most intimate parts of yourself, and they don't respect you. They don't care about you. They will abuse it. That's the most important part here, Jess. Depression is very real, and there are levels of depression. And I'm not saying that I just, stopped taking drugs and I was suddenly better. As I said, I worked on my problems, and then I was better. But while I was taking those drugs, I didn't do anything about anything, because why bother, right? I just couldn't muster up the energy. But when I stopped taking them and I didn't have that crutch to lean on anymore, I had to deal with them. And it was the best thing I ever did. Yeah, that's a good point. I think everyone feels something is wrong. Some people are in denial about what that thing might be, but I think everyone knows. We've made this sort of, we've mentioned this before. Imagine if you fell into a coma in 2019 and you woke up now.
Well, you would be freaked out.
You would lose your mind, wouldn't you?
You would think you're still in a coma. Things are that weird. Things are that bad. You would not believe things are right.
Or that you died and went to hell.
Exactly. You would think something is up.
Good evening, Fat Bink. Good timing.
What an amazing name.
Jess says, "Lo, I choose to go back to the coma." I'd be like, "Yeah, put me back to sleep. I don't want to deal with this reality." It's truly amazing, and it's a really good analogy to use on people, because if you think about it, this slow boil that we've had, all these things that we accept because they're slowly introduced, we'd reject them all if they were introduced all at once. Mm-hmm. Anyone with any sanity would reject them. But this is how they get us.
Just looping back slightly, just a little tiny bit, with the petrol. Could you imagine going back to whenever it was, let's say the 60s, and say, we're going to give you 10% less petrol, but we're going to make you pay the same price? They'd laugh at you. And then you combine that on top of everything else, all the taxes. The idea of a meat tax, rather. Could you imagine going back to the 1700s and say, we're going to charge you for meat? They'd laugh at you. You wouldn't get anywhere at all. But they do these things slowly and incrementally. They start adding things up. So it's like, okay, we're going to charge you VAT, but it's temporary. And then that temporary tax never goes away.
Yeah.
They're going to charge you income tax. They're going to charge you this. They're going to charge you that. And it builds and builds and builds. Then there's the other aspect of things. We're going to start making it more difficult for you to keep animals at your home. We're going to start making you keep your animals indoors because there's this bird flu going around that we can't see and doesn't. I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. Probably does exist, but even so,
but take our word for it, because we'll never share the actual data with you.
Exactly.
And we've made it so confusing that you wouldn't understand it anyway.
Exactly. They do that exact thing. They do it time and time again. They push a little tiny bit in every direction, and then they give you one or two things back. And
Yeah.
you're meant to be grateful for those one or two things. It was like that thing that the bald man said the other day.
Which bald man?
Savvy Javy.
I'm surprised you remembered that. Go on.
Well, that's because that's his name, because I do agree with you in that his name is rather difficult to say. It's a bit tricky.
It is. Will he just rename himself to Bob Smith? Nice English name. As
No,
you're in the English government.
I don't want him to sound English, to be honest with you. They're talking about giving freedoms back. It's like, no, you don't get to give freedoms back. That's not how things work. All that happens is you stop oppressing people. There's no giving freedoms back.
That phrasing is basically, if you agree, yes, give us our freedoms back, you are basically saying, I give you permission to decide what freedoms I have. That means you've agreed to what they're doing, and you have agreed that they have the power to do so. No,
exactly.
You're not giving our freedoms back. Guess what? We're taking them back, and you never should have taken them in the first place. We are taking them back. You don't have the right to take them. You don't have the power to take or give them. You just think you do.
It's kind of like the sort of tactic you would expect at a car dealer.
Well, let's face it, that's the best analogy for the UK government that I've ever heard.
I would sooner trust a second-hand car dealer over any of them, to be honest with you.
Well, look at Cameron's nickname, Dodgy Dave. That sounds like a used car salesman, doesn't it? We just need one for Boris. Balmy Boris doesn't quite cut it. Bodge up, Boris.
No, Balmy Boris doesn't cut it at all. I don't like Balmy Boris very much. My dad calls him that.
Can I just mention this? Michael says, I'm 63, type 2 diabetic. I changed my lifestyle and I'm no longer on any meds. Woo! Good for you.
Good stuff, lad.
Really good.
Very good indeed.
Dissident 101 says, and 2021 will seem like heaven in 2030. I know. Yes. Unless we change it.
I was just about to say, that's unless we come together and do something. And that's,
the future
that's what
isn't
we're trying
set.
to do.
Yeah, the future isn't set by any means. They want us to be so bogged down with the detail of what they're doing to us that we lose sight of the goal here. They want us to accept our fate as though it's a done deal. It's not written in stone. It doesn't have to be the way they're saying it does. But it's up to us to make sure that changes. We must make sure that changes. Window tax, Tash. I'm not sure what you're on about. Is there a window tax?
Yeah, there used to be a window tax.
Oh, God, yes. No, the answer is no, we don't.
When was it? When was the window tax? Was the window tax in the 1300s or 1700s?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know much about this at all. The last stupid tax I can recall was Corbyn with his stupid garden tax. Well, when I say the last stupid tax, of course, there have been many since then, but that was a doozy. Yes,
Cross out said 17. Thank you, Matt.
Can I just ask who in the chat suggested Mock the Woke, by the way?
I think that was Johnny Redpill Seeds. That was amazing.
That was amazing. We're so impressed with that. We're actually changing the Your Opinion Sucks. Or maybe we're changing, I don't know. We're going to use it.
Indeed we are.
Somehow, somewhere. And thank you so much for the inspiration. Yeah, Roy, every night of the week, except Monday. 7:30.
And some Fridays.
Well, most Fridays, to be fair. Maybe an odd Friday when Jordan has to work that we won't stream. But we will let you know in advance. Wow. Is that true? Johnny Not Powell says there's still a law that makes it illegal to vacuum on a Sunday. Oh, well, look at me. I'm a rebel.
Why do you vacuum on a Sunday? What sort of satanic demon are you?
Well, no, if I knock something over, then I'll vacuum. Well, I'm not going to sit there and say, well, I can't vacuum.
Over your vacuum. What? Well, first off, how often do you knock something over?
When it happens, it happens. I don't do it. It's not like I set a timer and think, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, knock. I don't. What are you talking about? It's an accident because it happens accidentally.
Yeah, but the way that you said it, I'll do
No.
it if I knock something over. This is as if it's a regular occurrence.
No.
Also, what sort of stuff do you knock over that needs to be hoovered up?
Oh, crazy stuff. Nothing I can share on this stream.
Oh, those piles and piles of Colombian cocaine, I understand. Oh, the Hugo Escobar going on over there. Wasn't Hugo, it's Pablo, wasn't it? Sorry, whatever. It's all the same
Oh
sort of
my
thing. Hugo,
God.
Pablo, general gist of the
Hugo
name.
Escobar, yes.
That was it. What did I said Escobar at least, didn't I?
No, I don't even think you said Escobar. You probably said escargot, for all I know. I wasn't even listening.
Is it coming through that I'm not good with names? Or much of anything?
Oh, Made in Cornwall's got a really good comment here. The COE of the charity Making a Wish for Ill Children has had to back down from saying the children need to be jabbed before their treatment because of backlash from common sense people. Thank goodness. And evil. These people are evil. Stop letting these people put things in your children. Oh, Bandor, don't mention El Chapo. You'll just get him going off again.
What about Pablo Escobar, my good friend?
Roy's mocking my height again. Right, on a serious note, thank you everyone for joining us. We've gone over a little bit. If you get over to vile.media, I never remember. It's automatically filled in. I do apologise. Nick, if you're listening, sorry. No, of course you're not, because you're streaming. So thank you everyone for joining us. This is a fantastic community. Let's keep inspiring each other and let's keep lifting each other up when we feel a bit down.
Indeed.
It's the best thing we can do.
Tomorrow, interesting-ish stream. Kind of from my perspective, an interesting stream because it shows the design and manufacturing process when it goes wrong. And I'm going to work for this evening and tomorrow to try and make it right. But it should be interesting nonetheless. An interesting discussion.
Yes, indeed. Can I just say as well, a big thank you to Sir Francis and to Will for supporting us on Subscribestar. You will be the first donations going towards our community project.
Indeed.
We're so very grateful. Thank you so much for that. As for everyone else, we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Make, Do, Amend. We hope you'll be here. We really want to get more of you involved in these Make, Do, Amend streams. So tomorrow, for one night only, I do believe Jordan is opening up the mic. Is that correct?
Indeed.
So if you have something to share,
made something or various other things like that, let us know and we'll pop it up and come on and talk about it if you want, or you can sit in chat and we can talk about it that way. Up to you. Either which way, we want to see what you've been doing.
Yes, please. This community is so amazing, so talented. We know that you've got stuff to share. So come on, let's get on the stream and just say hi to everyone and tell people what you've done. Or talk about something you're planning to do. It doesn't have to be anything you've done already. That would be wonderful. So fingers crossed, we'll be hearing a lot of you tomorrow as well as speaking to you. Okay, so in that case, I think it's time to wrap up and say thank you everyone for joining us. Have a very safe evening. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30. And yes, take care all. Bye for now.
Indeed. Bye for now.